Hello, Melanin Monarchy citizens. This is your Monarch Monique here with another episode of Strategy Sunday. Remember, we are doing our Strategy Sunday summer series. We're into it. Today is July 13th, 2025. And so wherever you are and whenever you are when you're watching this, it is going to be impactful for you. Now, the reason we're doing this on a Sunday, the reason why we're strategizing on a Sunday is because Sunday is the first day of the week. Monday is not the first day of the week. Monday is the first work day of the week that was started for the working class. The aristocracy didn't know anything about Monday being the first day of the week. They always considered Sunday as the first day of the week. So we here at Melanin Monarchy believe that you reign and you rule over your week, your month, your life. And so we're going to continue to give you strategies in order to do that and to get all of your goals and plans for your week to be accomplished. Now, what is a strategy? A strategy is a planned approach to your desired outcome. Remember, a strategy is your planned approach to a desired outcome. No longer will you be swept away by the week wherever the week wants to take you by default. And there is a default setting on your life. Remember, there is a default setting on your life, and that default setting is made up of your actions, your beliefs, is made up of the things that you think, your thoughts, your mindset, and also your mindset is made up of a system of beliefs that you have. And there is a war after your system of beliefs. There is a war. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we're strategic about how we want our life to go and how we want our week to go. Now, this strategy, this whole strategy Sunday that we've started here, there's a philosophy behind it. And that philosophy comes from Proverbs chapter 21, verse 6. And this is what it says. And I'm taking it out of the Message Bible for all of you note takers. Strategic planning is the key to warfare. To win, you need a lot of good counsel. So we at Melanin Monarchy, even though we do creative things, we get projects started, and we do so many different things. We are the experts in live entertainment. So we're going to continue to deliver that commentary, that expert commentary and reviews. We do all of those things, but we also want to make sure that you're winning your week. You're really in the logic, in the rational parts of your week and not just the creative part as well. And it does help your creativity. So remember what I said, keep a notebook, make sure that you're keeping a notebook, because we want to know, and you also want to know, do these strategies work? When I apply them to my life, what is the outcome? I need to keep notes to see if it works. If it doesn't work, I think check it out. It's just not working, and let me know if it's not working. But I do believe that it is working for you because it's working in my life. So let's go ahead and let's get started with this particular topic here, July 13th, 2025. I'm scrolling down to my notes to get to this for this day. And that topic is, and what we're going to do for today is, we must learn how to defeat our enemies and haters. So that's the strategy that we're going forth. We're learning how to defeat your enemies and your haters. Okay. Now listen, I know we deal with a lot of concepts, we deal with a lot of things, but sometimes we face real life opposition. We face people who just seem like it's their mission to see us destroyed. They put up roadblocks, they put up traps to make sure that our downfall is secure. Either they do it literally, like they literally put up roadblocks and traps, or they're doing it figuratively through slander, through gossip, through all of those things. They just want to make sure that life is difficult for you. All right. They're just trying to make life difficult for you. So this strategy today is going to teach you how to crush that, how to crush your enemies and how to crush your haters. All right. So let's define what an enemy and a hater is. We're going to give definitions of what an enemy and a hater is. I'm going fast because there's a lot of concepts and a lot of things to go through. All right. So your enemy is a person who actively opposes or is hostile towards you and your plans and purposes. Okay. I'm going to repeat. Your enemy is a person who actively opposes you and opposes your plans and purposes. Now, your hater is someone whose mission it is to dislike you and to be negative and critical of you. Okay, so we have that definition. I'm going to take off my fly glasses so I can go ahead and see the rest of these notes. Now let's talk about the characteristics and the behavior of your enemy and your hater. Okay, now remember, haters and enemies are on the same footing. You guys, I'm not trying to separate them two. They're on the same footing. But your enemy wants to see you destroyed. They want you out of the way. Okay, that's what your enemy wants to see you destroyed. They want you out of the way. Your hater doesn't care if you're destroyed. Your hater just They don't like you, and they don't want anybody else to like you and support you. So your hater doesn't necessarily care if you're destroyed. They just their mission is they don't like you and they don't want anyone else to like you or to support you. Your haters want you destroyed through isolation and rejection. Okay? So your enemy just flat out, they want you out of the way. Okay, they don't want you to exist, they want you out of the way. Your hater wants you destroyed through isolation and rejection. Okay? More behind these characteristics and behavior, your enemy will attack you and anyone who is partnered up with you. So your enemy is going to attack you and anyone who's partnered up. Anybody that's with you, anyone in your camp, they're going to attack them too. Okay? But your hater will go around you, right? The hater will go around you and to convince everybody that's with you that they shouldn't support you, that they shouldn't like you, that they shouldn't support you. So those are the kind of the different things that haters and enemies do. All right. Both want you weak and essentially want your death. So as I said, they're on the same footing. Your hater and your enemy are on the same footing. They both want you weak and they essentially want your death. And both want everything that you put your hands on to die. So anything you put your hands to do, your enemy and your hater want it to die. Okay. Your enemy, here's another behavior characteristic of your enemy. Your enemy will celebrate your defeat openly and take credit for it. Enemy is like, I did it. They're destroyed. I did it. That's your enemy. Your enemy will openly celebrate your defeat and take credit for it. Your hater will secretly celebrate your defeat, but will blame the defeat on your own inadequacies. They will say it's your fault that you were defeated because nothing you do is good. You're not good enough. You're not up to snuff. That's what a hater would do. So I kind of want to say that a hater is a little bit more psychological about it, but your enemy can also be your hater as well. But you you recognize that your hater will blame your defeat on you and say it's your fault. It's because of your inadequacies. Nothing you do is good enough. Nothing you do is good, and nothing you do is up to snuff. That's what a hater does. Okay. Again, like I said, both your enemy and your hater are diabolical. Okay. Your enemy is not worse than your hater, and your hater is not worse than your enemy. All right. Here's another thing. Both your enemy and your hater breed children of strife, conflict, hostility, disharmony among everybody. All right? Both your enemy and your hater breed children of strife, conflict, hostility, disharmony among everybody. And both require that you use the same approach when you attack them. So even though they have a little bit of varying behaviors and characteristics, the approach that I'm going to give you today is required to defeat and crush both of these people. Okay? Now, why do I keep prefacing it with your? Why do I keep saying your hater and your enemy? Well, really, because your hater and your enemy may not be my hater and my enemy. And my hater and my enemy may not be your hater and your enemy. This is going to be important in a moment, okay? All right. And also, I don't want you to automatically assume that someone is an enemy or a hater. All right. To do this proves that you're weak minded and that you're immature because you haven't to take the time to identify if they are an enemy or a hater. Okay. So be aware of that. So don't automatically assume that somebody is your enemy or that you're a hater. Now, how to identify your enemy or your hater? This is good. This is good. Number one is obvious. They're going to tell you, right? Number one, they're going to let you down. Number two, patience will tell you. You got to be patient. Okay. They will reveal themselves eventually. Right. And number three, watch their reaction when you have success. Okay. When you win, they are physically repelled and will verbally trivialize it. Okay. They'll excuse it away. Your enemy and your hater react physically to your success. They are physically repelled by your success and they will verbally trivialize it. I've had this happen to me. Okay, they'll excuse it away. Best example that I like to think of, I want you guys to think of. Remember Anna Kendrick in Twilight? I think it was Breaking Dawn Part 1. They're at the wedding, right? And I don't know why they gave her the option to get up and speak, but she does this whole speech, and she's just talking about how Bella doesn't deserve Edward, and she's like, because Bella isn't this and Bella isn't that, and then she goes, just kidding. Just kidding. And then she goes back to like hating on Bella. That's a good example of what a hater, would do. That's a hater. All right. Now, let's look at who is not your enemy and who your hater is, right? And I have to do this because some of you guys are classifying people as your enemy and your hater, and you're doing it because you've already decided that that's who they are in your heart and in your mind. But that's erroneous. They're not really your hater or your enemy. Okay. And this is why I said earlier that your hater may not be my hater and my hater may not be your hater, because sometimes you guys just misclassify people as your hater. But here are people who are not your enemy and your hater. People who disagree with you. That's one. Number two, people who don't know you and you don't know them. If they don't know you and they've never met you, you've never met them, then they lack the proper information to be classified as your enemy or your hater. Okay. Vice versa, so do you. You lack the proper information on them to classify them as an enemy or a hater. Okay. That's number two. Number three, people you or someone in your circle have offended or intentionally done something to. So we kind of feel like if we've done something to somebody in the past, or somebody in our circle, our family or homies or whatever have done something to somebody, that then that makes them our enemy or makes them a hater. That's not the case. A lot of times, some people have the gift of forgiveness and they're not thinking about you like that. Okay. Number four, people who don't like you. Now, I know that I said that haters have a mission to not like you, but there are just some people who just don't like you. There are people who just don't like me, right? And just because people don't like you, it doesn't mean that they're your hater. And truth be told, these people who just don't like you, oftentimes they fall into the category of care less. They care less. They want you over there and they want to be over here. Okay, they're not even thinking about it. They don't like you, so they move as far away from you as possible. All right, they don't want to be your friend, and they're not seeking your destruction. They just out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, whatever. Okay, so those are people who are not your enemy or your haters. Just because they don't like you, that doesn't mean they're your enemy or your hater. Here's another group of people that are not your haters or enemies. People who do things differently or live life differently than you. We live in a weird world. It's a weird world. Okay, these people are not your enemies or your hater. Now let's address some historical excuses, because people again classify erroneously people as their hater because of historical reasons. Okay, so here's the Monarch thing. Stop using historical references as evidence that someone is an enemy or a hater. Okay, I call this the Hatfield and McCoy's excuse. Just because I'm a McCoy and you're a Hatfield and we got historical beef, then that means that you're still my enemy and you're still my hater. Stop that. Okay, all right. Now the people who do this are simple-minded, and they are people who are desperate to belong. Okay, so people who get roped up in historical feuds are simple-minded and they are desperate to belong. So remember that. So don't use historical excuses as a reason to call somebody your hater or your enemy. Here's another group of people that are not your hater or your enemy: truth tellers. Okay, if your character is rotten, whether it's presently rotten or in the past have been rotten, and somebody either testifies against you, whistleblows, tells the truth about you, they're not your enemy. Okay, so stop classifying truth tellers as your enemy. If you claim that a truth teller is your enemy, you know what this means? It means that you're a liar. It means that you love and live by lies. You don't want to be found out. So you classified a truth teller as your enemy. All right. So if you fall into that category and you're a liar, watch last week's Strategy Sunday and get delivered. Okay. All right. Now back to the serious folks. Now that we done weeded out all you fake victims talking about you got enemies and you got haters. You don't have enemies and you got haters. Okay. So now then we weeded out all of the fake people. All right. It's funny. It's like I watched Little House on the Prairie a lot, and people who remember Little House on the Prairie, Nancy is a character. Now, Nancy was Nellie part two. She wasn't just Nellie part two. She was like Nellie 10x. I mean, she was truly diabolical in the Little House on the Prairie series. And one of the things that Nancy used to like to say all the time was when she would get caught hating, being a hater, and being an enemy to people, she would always say, "You hate me. You hate me. Everybody hates me." So you guys, that's what you're like. If you're not serious, if you're not really classifying people properly, then that's what you're like. You're like Nancy. All right. All right. Now let's get back to people who have real issues with enemies and haters, people who are seeking their destruction, who are plotting their downfall. Here is the strategy. This has been 20 minutes. So if you guys stayed all this time, I applaud you. And I know you're like me, like, my gosh, why can't you say the strategy in the beginning so I can decide whether I want to watch you or not? I'm like that to you guys. But I had to go through all of those concepts because they needed to be explained before I give you the tool, the weapon that you're going to use. So here is what you're going to do. Love and pray for your enemies and your haters. Okay. Luke chapter 6, verse 27 and 28, along with Matthew chapter 5, verse 44 in the New Testament, commands us to love and pray for those people that hate us. So let me go ahead and let me read Luke chapter 6, verse 27 and 28. This is Jesus speaking. He says, "But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you. Bless them that curse you, and pray for those which despitefully use you." You guys need to read that again on your own. Luke chapter 6, verses 27 and 28. Okay. So you guys, when I read this, when I was doing this whole study, I was like, oh man, Jesus, really? Really? Where is the Old Testament Jesus, right? Where is the God of fire and brimstone, the eye for an eye God? Can I get some of them David prayers answered, like David would pray for his enemies that they be crushed and destroyed and all this, fall into slimy pits and all this other kind of stuff that he would pray. Foreskin David who would take your foreskin. I'm pretty sure David had Goliath's head mounted in the cave of Adullam. I'm talking about that. I'm like, Jesus, where is that? Where is that at, right? Okay. Now, again, I had a problem with this strategy, with this tool, is because I'm from Detroit, right? We like to knuck and buck. We fisticuffs over in Detroit. Listen, we built an arena named after a black boxer, a black brawler, so that white ice brawlers, Stanley Cup champions, can perform inside. So we built a whole arena, the Joe Louis Arena, so that our Red Wings, who are ice brawlers, if you've seen the Red Wings, can play inside of it. That's the kind of stock that I come from. I come from Detroit. Another thing is uh, growing up in Detroit, to fight was like a rite of passage. If you weren't fighting in elementary school, then, we were fighting back then. We were fighting, okay? Another reason why that I understand when I say this, love your enemies and pray for those who hate you, I understand how hard this word is because I'm like, you know what, Jesus, my mama didn't raise no punk. She ain't raised no punk to get punked. Okay, so I don't know if I can do this. I really don't. Okay, and so here's what I thought. Like right after I thought that, is I was like, you know what? Of course Jesus would say something like that because he is the Prince of Peace. He is a wonderful counselor. He is the Prince of Peace. All right. So I studied this. I went ahead and I studied this for you guys, not just for you, but for myself as well. I studied this, and I'm telling you, when I studied this, I realized how much of a radical concept this is. Okay. Now, this particular word that Jesus gave is, in anything he gives, it's nutrient dense. It really is. It's nutrient dense and it's inexhaustive. So what I'm going to be saying to you today is not complete. Okay. It only scratches the tip of the surface of what Jesus was trying to say to us. So you got to go and you got to study this stuff on your own. Don't take your monarch's word for it. Study this stuff for your own. Let the Holy Spirit speak to you on your own. Okay. Now, again, I get it. I'm like, why Jesus? So this is me bargaining with Jesus. I was like, Jesus, can I just love and pray for them up until a point where they get on my last nerve? Can I do that? Can I just love them up and, as my kids would say, and then crash out on them? Can I just do that? And Jesus' answer was like, no. Okay. All right. So, here's a short list of why Jesus gives us this instructions, right? Here's it. Okay. Again, I want to reiterate that Jesus, what's wonderful about Jesus is that Jesus is a radical and he's a revolutionary. All right. So Jesus gave this command at the time where the people in the land, it was a Roman occupied land for an oppressed people. So Jesus is telling a Roman occupied people, oppressed people, to love your enemies and to pray for those who despitefully use you. That's how it's normally been presented to us in our lives. But let me tell you how fierce and radical this thing is. All right, what's the purpose of him telling you this? This is the purpose of why Jesus had to say this. Here's number one: to call us to a higher standard based on love. Number two, to teach us to resist evil at all costs and to equip us with the necessary weapons to do so. Okay? Blessing and prayer is a mighty weapon against your haters. Okay? Number three, to represent the Father's character and nature. We're still on the purposes of why Jesus had to tell us to do this, why he gave us this command. Number four, he wants to position us under an open heaven. More on that later. Number five, he needs our help to spread the gospel and to reconcile others to God. So that's the purpose behind the command in verse 27 and verse 28 of Luke chapter 6. All right, now here's the sidebar. Here's the sidebar. This is something that I want to say to you guys. All right, look, some of you guys, especially nowadays, looking at the news and TikTok and Instagram, all this stuff, some of you guys think that you're radical. Some of you guys call yourself radicals and revolutionaries. You're nothing compared to Jesus. He was a true radical and a true revolutionary. And some of you people who think you're in Jesus, who you pretty much know you're in Jesus. I ain't seen nothing of you that's really radical. Not even your witness or your testimony. So, whatever. You guys can take that for whatever you want to take it as. All right. What does loving, doing good, blessing, and praying for your enemies and your haters actually do? Right? We have this command from the Lord. We have this command from our King and how to defeat, like crush our enemies and our haters. But what does it actually do? Okay. Here are some of the things that I got from this study. One, it breaks the cycle of hostility, strife, and vengeance in the earth. Number two, loving your enemy keeps the contagion of hate off of you. Whatever your enemy got on them, you don't want on you. Okay. Number three, when you do good to your enemies, it causes their head to explode. Now, let me tell you what I mean by this. When you do good to your enemies, they spend an exuberant amount of time trying to figure out why you did it, what you did. They're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure you out. Okay, so that's why it causes their head to explode. And they're in the dark, so they're not going to be able to. So, all right, number four, loving your enemy keeps your heart pure. Remember, Matthew 5:8 says, only the pure in heart will see God. Right? Number five, loving your enemy makes you distinct and sets you apart. Number six, doing good to your enemy keeps the stench of hate off of you. All right, so this is what it actually does. When you love your enemy, this is what it does. All right. Number seven, loving and doing good to your enemy enacts a spirit of forgiveness. So they will ask forgiveness of you and you will be willing to forgive. I've had this happen in my own life where people have come to me and asked for their forgiveness. Okay. Number eight, loving and praying for your enemies and your haters activates divine assistance. When you use Jesus's weapons, you get Jesus back up. All right, all right. So let's go back. Let's go back to identifying your enemies and your haters. And I had to put this here in this section because I'm realizing that once you identify your haters and once you know how to deal with them, you can't say you didn't know. All right. So you have to be intentional about loving and praying for them. So when you identify rightly that somebody is your enemy and your hater, then you have to work and you have to move intentionally. All right. This is what I wrote. The command in Luke chapter 6, verse 27 to 28 has specific resolutions. This weapon to love, do good, bless, pray is not like a Gatlin or an Uzi. It's not to just spray it on out there to everybody. Okay. It's like an AR. All right. It's a sharpshooter. It's a weapon for sharpshooters. So it's to love and to do good and to pray and to bless are sharp shooting weapons to your enemy. Okay. This strategy expels the spirit of strife out of the land. It expels the spirit of strife out of the land. Okay. And I want to say an example of this is this there was a film called it's called The Burnt, I think. It's a Bradley Cooper film. It's a movie about a chef. 2015 film. And in that film, there was a part in the film where Bradley Cooper, he's trying to get a Michelin star as a chef in Paris, and he has a nemesis. Also, he has a couple of different nemesis, but he has a nemesis. And so one day, the pressure and all of it just gets to him, and he decides that he wants to get inebriated. He gets like funky drunk or whatever. And so he arrives at his nemesis restaurant. If some of you seen this film, you may remember this scene. He arrives at his nemesis restaurant, and he is all over the place because he's drunk and he's inebriated out of his mind. He may be drunk, he may have taken some stuff, but he is inebriated out of his mind. And so the nemesis comes in and sees this. He sees Bradley Cooper, played by the actor Matthew Rhines, who did a great job. He sees Bradley Cooper and he yells at everybody. He tells everybody to get out. He said, get out. He kicks them all out of the kitchen. He kicks them all out of the restaurant. Then he basically nurses Bradley Cooper back to himself. So that's an example of what loving and doing good to your neighbor. Go back and go watch that film. Okay. Now, once you identify your enemies and your haters, you have to act immediately. To pause or to hesitate can cause your humanity, your fallen nature, your humanity to resurface and emerge, and you will react in kind. We've all been there. We've all been there where, somebody gets in our face, they want to do this, they want to flip us a bird, they want to spit on us. And so we hesitate, and immediately, that our humanity rises up and we do damage. Okay. Now, let's go to the other side of these scriptures. We talked about the blessing, the prayer, the loving, the doing good. Let's talk about a little bit of the cursing, the insults, and the mistreatment. Okay. Why cursing, insults, hate, and abuse must be defeated. Right. So now we're on that verse 28. Here's some reasons why. One reason is while blessing and prayer activates divine assistance, as we talked about earlier, cursing and mistreatment breeds satanic and demonic activity. That's one reason. Another reason, cursing and abuse promotes bitterness and malice. Another reason, those who curse and despitefully use you cause self-destruction. So they cause self-destruction on themselves. It made me think of the KRS-One song and video, self-destruction, ready for self-destruction. Go back and watch that video. It's relevant here. It will help you out, okay, on that. Listening to the words and the rappers of that video. Okay, I thought Kool Moe Dee was so cool. Anyway, so another thing why people who curse, insult, hate, and abuse must be defeated is because cursing and abuse is a mark of an oppressor. If you don't deal with it, you're allowing an oppressor to run rampant in your land. Okay. Cursing and insults defile the person and infest the territory. All right. So we're still talking about winning your week. We're still talking about the strategy of winning your week. And so you've heard all of this. You've heard what the strategy is. You heard why we must defeat it. You've heard of the plans and purposes of why Jesus said this. You've heard all of this, and you're still like, man, Monique, look, I ain't got time to be worrying about my enemies and my haters. I got things to do. I got to make this money. I got to do this business. I got to finish this project. I got to complete school. I got, things to do in my day and in my week. I don't have time for this. All right. So here's my response to people like you. If you don't deal with it, you're leaving the door cracked open for any spawn of your enemy or haters to come in. And some of these spawns are anger, aggression, fury, rage, torment, manipulation. Look, it's going to come into your house. It's going to come in. All right. So if you don't deal with it, you're leaving the door cracked open, right? Here's another response that I have to that kind of mindset. Whatever you refuse to or are unwilling to deal with, someone down your family line will have to. You can't win your week and lose your legacy. I repeat what I said. You can't win your week and lose your legacy. Okay. Here's another thing. If you are unwilling, you already know. You know what God told you to do. You already know what Jesus commanded you to do and how to defeat your enemies and your haters. But if you are unwilling to love, to do good, to bless, to pray for your enemies and haters, that signifies that you cannot be trusted to represent the true character of God on earth, which knocks you out of position to live under an open heaven. Let me repeat that again. When you know what to do and you make a decision not to do it, you are unwilling, you refuse to do it, that signifies to heaven that you cannot be trusted to represent the true character and nature of God. And it bumps you out of position of living under an open heaven. Now, let me tell you what an open heaven is. I think I mentioned this earlier. This is what an open heaven is. An open heaven is a place. It's a position of where blessings, communication, the supernatural freely flow from God's throne. That's what an open heaven is. Now that you've heard this and you're like, shoot, I've done that before, right? Don't fret, don't fret. Listen, if you've messed up in the past or even recently, even today, if you've messed up, even if you've messed up after hearing all of this and you know you've messed up, ask God for another opportunity to get it right. God is so gracious. He's so merciful. He's so gracious. He will give you as many opportunities as you ask him. While you're still breathing, while you still have his breath in you, he will give you as many opportunities. So don't fret. All right, here are final thoughts. Oh my gosh. So glad that you guys stayed all this time with me. And it could have gone further. I may need to do a part 2 to this, because I'm still studying on this. But here are my final thoughts for today, July 15th. July 13th? July 13th, 2025. Here are my final thoughts. The words of Jesus are life, but they are not just life. They are a shield and antibiotic against this world's curse system. And here's another thing that I want to say, because this is what I struggle with, as well as I said earlier, being from Detroit. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you, when you think about loving people, turning the other cheek, doing things like that, here's what I want to say to you. This doesn't make you weak. Jesus will only entrust the strongest and the most courageous with his love. Okay? All right, you guys, that is Strategy Sunday for this week, for July 13, 2025. Thank you so much for coming along with me. Let me know if you guys get more revelation, or if you just want to comment or something, or if there's something I missed that I didn't even consider. Definitely let me know that. Comment below. Definitely share this with somebody who you think is going to get. I know how this helped me, and I know that it's going to help anybody and everybody. It's going to impact anybody and everybody who listens to this. So definitely share this, and I will see you on the next Strategy Sunday next week. All right, you guys. Toodle pip.